Welcome to Adastra. And if you remember where we left things off the last time, we were talking to Amicus down in the dungeons. It's about the parents, I think. I need to talk to you about something they showed me. The snuffling in my hair pauses as Amicus absorbs what I just said. The parents? Yeah. The parents? I sigh, wondering if I'm going to have just as much trouble convincing Amicus of this as I did with everyone else. I still remember the look Nefero gave me when I told him about the drug trip I had. Amicus seems to sense my frustration and hugs me a little tighter. Hey, I'm just surprised. I believe you. Well, I've no reason not to. He nuzzles my head again. Did they come to you in a dream, or... sort of? I tell Amicus what happened in the hallway in front of the meditation room. What? I push through his shocked exclamations and go on to describe the dreams I'd been having as well. What? But why wouldn't you tell me this? I shrug against his body. I forgot about them as soon as I woke up. I didn't remember until after what happened with Cassius. Well, I feel Amicus's chest puff up with pride. Sounds like I really am meant to be Emperor, eh? That's what they said, but you know what else this means? The monitors know I'm here. They're okay with it. So I guess it's not really even illegal, right? There's a pause. Well, I mean, it may have been just a dream, but it's nice to hear nevertheless. Also, stay away from that room. While I find it funny that Cassius is using Somni to make contact, I'd rather you not use it. Amicus kisses the top of my head as I let out a sigh of exasperation. I didn't do it on purpose, and you said you believed me. Amicus lets out a chuckle that rumbles through his torso and into my back. It's a comforting feeling, and despite my annoyance, I find myself pressing deeper against him. Well, I believe that you saw these things, but who can say if it was real or not? Well, sometimes I have dreams of entities that I believe are the parents, but I don't necessarily believe it actually is them. I'm quiet for a moment, letting the silence drag out. I know Amicus well enough at this point that he's got his ears pointed up, waiting for me to respond. Trust me. Like, seriously, you need to trust me on this, Amicus. Amicus spends his own moment being quiet, resting his cheek against my head, contemplating. Do you trust me? There's only a short pause. All right, yes, I do trust you. There's a sense of conviction in his voice. I can tell he really is determined to believe me. Well, thank you, but I only say that because something else had happened. What was that? I take a deep breath. Amicus, sensing my anxiety, suddenly turns me in his lap to face him, letting me lay my head against his chest as he pets the side of my face. Hey, you can tell me anything, T-Ball. Well, like I said, I believe you. He says it even more firmly this time, tipping his muzzle down to look at me as I look up at him, meeting eyes. All right, so I was in the archives with Virginia yesterday. Amicus's eyes widen. The archives? What were you doing in there? This reminds me I also need to tell Amicus about what we've been plotting this past week. I'll tell you in a bit, but something happened when I was hooked up to the machine. You connected with it? Why would... In a bit. Anyway, while I was hooked up, I had another vision from the parents. Amicus thinks. Well, I suppose that would make more sense, considering that's the way the Emperor speaks with them, but it's only the Emperor they speak to. Yeah, well, for whatever reason, they started talking to me. Actually, you started talking to me. Me? I think so. You're like yelling, telling me you didn't want me to leave you. Oh, well, that does sound like something I would say in such a situation. But you sounded really scared and sad, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. My throat hurt and just felt weird. Amicus seems to contemplate all of this, but doesn't say anything more. I start to get frustrated, but I realise I can't really expect him for more information that I don't already know. I guess I'd hoped that he would have more insight into why parents do the things that they do. But really, I'm on my own figuring this all out. I sigh and lean my head against the wolf's chest. Hey, what's wrong? Oh, I'm sure you'll be fine. The parents are very mysterious. My father had several visions he had trouble interpreting. I feel like something bad is going to happen, like really bad. I don't know what it is that I should do to stop it. Did they give you any guidance at all? They just said to give in their benevolent will or something like that. Amicus gently pushes me back so he can look at me directly, for he smiles gently. Well, there's your answer. The parents only want what's best for all of us. Just follow their guidance, keep your mind and heart open to them, and all will turn out as it should. Those sentences wouldn't be out of place during a sermon in the church on earth, and reminded again how these parents really are seen as gods. It's a comforting thought that I could just do as they say and be just fine, made all the more comforting by Amicus's smile and confidence in the matter. But there's a nagging feeling in the back of my mind. There's more to the parents than the wolves seem to know. I know my voice a bit. I just don't know if I trust them. Amicus laughs, and that actually does annoy me. Hey, I'm serious. There's something off about all of this, like the way they're going about things. They want me to do something, they should just tell me instead of showing me scary visions. Amicus forces himself to stop laughing and clears his throat, trying to look serious. Well, I'm sorry, Tibor. I just sometimes forget that you're outside the Galaxius and aren't accustomed to these things. The parents are nothing but benevolence and goodwill. We all feel their guidance in our lives, even when we're not able to speak to them directly like the Emperor. The fact you're able to do so is an incredible honour. You should be happy and not worried. Amicus strokes my hair. Yeah, but don't you think me being an outsider gives me a different perspective on all of this? What if they aren't what they say they are? Well, they are, and have no reason not to be. Amicus's voice becomes more firm, and I can tell he's starting to become uncomfortable with my questions. My advice to you? Listen to them. They will help you, and maybe even figure a way to get us out of this mess. Besides, it's a great relief to know you may be here for a reason. Well, I'm starting to think I was meant to find you. Amicus hugs me again. I decide not to press further. I love and trust Amicus, but he's clearly on board with anything to do with the parents, and I doubt I'll be able to make him question that. Not that I really want to anyway. I just worry that I'm being led down a path I really don't want to go down. Oh, Tibor. Amicus, clearly sensing my continued anxiety, pulls me forward to kiss me. I kiss back, and it feels good even though my stomach continues to churn. 10 minutes remaining, Tibor. Com uses his loud voice to call down to us from the top of the ladder. Amicus and I sigh in unified frustration. Want to have a little fun before you go? I look down and I'm kind of amazed to see he still has the boner, which makes me wonder how much he'd really been engaged in our conversation. I have to tell you, I catch myself and know my voice, what we've been doing to get you out. Oh, you can do that and other things at the same time. Amicus tries not to look too eager. I roll my eyes but press my hand against his chest and draw it slowly down the wolf's front, over the curve of his stomach. He immediately moans quietly as I reach the lower part of his abdomen, and I see the bulge jump in his underwear as his hips even thrust up a bit too. I laugh at his eagerness, and I have to admit it's kind of nice to have something more light-hearted to do while I discuss all of these troubling issues with my wolf. For the next little while I walk around the gardens, taking advantage of the mild weather. I've noticed it's become cooler and less humid over the past week, which is nice. Apparently this is as cold as it gets on this part of Adastra though, and it never snows. I sigh and sit on a bench, thinking back on my meeting with Amicus just an hour ago. It had been easier to say goodbye to the wolf this time, especially now that I know that Cassius is willing to let us see each other as much as is possible. That being whenever Cato is out, which is good because he's gone a lot of the time doing his official business or whatever. Amicus, once again, had recommended I distance myself from the plotting so as not to get caught up if we get exposed. I reassure him even though I'm going to do whatever it takes to see this through, even if that means I will have to put myself in danger. I don't want Amicus to be down there for another day. Just yesterday, Cassius, or Cato, banned all talk of Amicus on Adastra, which Neferu told me only caused the rumours to really start flying. They range from Amicus being imprisoned, true, banished, or even executed. This is good for us, I'm told, because the public, whether they liked Amicus or not, generally doesn't feel he should be struck from existence just because he lost the emperorship. In other words, the people will likely be on our side when we finally reveal everything. Hopefully. That's really all we can rely on, considering the emperor holds so much power, even if the way it was achieved was illegitimate. The triumvirates barely check the Emperor's power, so unless the people as a whole come together it will be difficult to remove Cassius from the throne. If Cassius still refuses to step down, our options will be very limited, and most probably won't turn out well for me or for anyone here that's not part of the family. Still, Cassius is proud. Very proud. The Pharaoh and Virginia think he'll either step down or at least accept combat to go out with honour. Hopefully the first, because I really don't know how Marcus would deal with the idea of having to kill his brother. I sigh and lean back on the bench, really getting frustrated at all this political bullshit. This had been the exact type of thing Cassius wanted to get rid of, but now it just seems worse than ever. Just as I'm thinking this, I see Alex. He's just up the path, standing right in the middle of it. And he's looking right at me. I give a start, then just stare back at him. He doesn't move, just goes on looking at me, and I start to wonder what the hell he's doing. He doesn't have his usual smile on either. As a soft breeze blows through the leaves and foliage, I start to feel like I'm in some kind of horror movie. Actually, now that I know who he really is, I do start to feel a little concerned about what he's capable of. So I decide to act casual and stand up, raising a hand and walking over to the cat. Hey, Alex. Alexios will do, Tibor. Okay. Hi, Alexios. Hotep be with you, Tibor. What? I feel things should be more formal between us from now on, that is all. No, I mean, why that greeting? I'd heard Neferi use it many times, but no one else. Well, you are a Chemian, are you not? That gives me pause. Oh yeah, I guess I am. The cat smirks. Oh, you seem to have gotten your own citizenship. I shrug. Still getting used to it. I mean, it's something that even some siblings desire, not to mention children, or even the uncontacted. I raise an eyebrow. That's so. Certainly. Who wouldn't want to be part of the most spoiled civilization in the galaxy? I sigh, still tired from thinking about all this political manoeuvring. Playing games with Alexios is the last thing I want to do now. Cut the bullshit, Alex. What do you want? Excuse me? You're excused. I walk past the cat, listening to him sputter in surprise. You have some nerve to talk to a sibling like that. I frown, glancing back. What's that supposed to mean? You're not even a child, yet you throw your weight around here like you're the most important person in the palace. I laugh, loud. I see the cat's ears pinned back. Are you fucking kidding me? All of you assholes have been throwing me around with all your plots and fake niceties. I'm just trying to survive. Also, last I checked, Chemians are all equal, so I don't really give a shit if you're a sibling. Alex looks completely taken aback, which is completely satisfying. And haven't you always implied that the wolves are fucked up for looking down on their children and treating them like slaves? Alex coughs to clear his throat. My apologies, I simply lost my temper for a moment. You were just being a bit rude. Or maybe deep down you're just as speciesist or whatever as the wolves, even though you try to pretend you're not. And Pharaoh's the same way. Even I'm surprising myself a little. It's like the lid has finally blown off and I'm just using Alex to vent all of my frustrations with this place. What has gotten into you, Tibor? There's a long pause and I finally sigh, rubbing my face. Sorry, I think I'm losing my mind here. The first time in a while I see the cat crack a genuine smile. I can tell you then you're not meant to be a diplomat. Definitely not. For a moment I feel that old familiar kinship I had with a cat not even a few weeks ago. I do believe in any other situation, in one where we're not all spies, Alex and I could have been really good friends. I know that can't be the case now though, so I stop smiling and look Alexios right in the eye. But seriously, what do you want? I can tell you're trying to get something out of me. Alex becomes serious too, smile fading. He considers me for a long while, probably realised that I'm not going to play his little game. Alright, Tibor, who are you? I know you're not an abandoned child. What is it that you want and what are you doing here? So you want to know everything? Yes. And why should I tell you? Alex smirks. Why be blunt if we're going to play the game anyway, Tibor? I'm just curious as to why you're so curious. I hardly matter in all of this. Well, it's a complete lie. Everything has changed since you arrived. This is why I want to know. But why does it matter that you know? I am an important link between the Morpher and Adastra. It's my job to know what is happening in this empire. So who told you I'm uncontacted? Cassius? You've deduced correctly. I also know the monitors seem to approve of it, which is rather odd. I shrug. Again, I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I don't see why I tell you anything if I don't know anything about you. Why, I'm just a simple pet. I don't know anything that's going on. His tone of voice tells me that he's mocking me. I raise an eyebrow, but don't say anything. Alex sighs. Well, the simplest way I can explain is I'm trying to maintain peace in the Galaxius as a whole. That mainly involves watching the motives of the wolves. Why is that? Because they can be dangerous. Okay, and none of the other siblings dangerous. Tibor, Adastra is the only civilization in the galaxy to wage war on another sibling in over 10 millennia, and they were the perpetrators in the previous war as well. Not only that, they waged war on an almost parent-level civilization. They're suicidal, and I can't imagine why the Chemians want an alliance with them. I think. Do you not want the alliance to happen? This seems to go against what Alex would want. I thought he wanted Amicus to take the throne. I want the Galaxius to remain safe. Is the alliance something you want to happen? I frown, wondering why he's asking me. I mean, to me it seems like it would create peace, so yeah. Alex's eyes narrow like he figured something out. What, do you want the wolves to stay isolated? I just want order. The wolves have none of that. The silence stretches out between us. I suppose you're still not going to tell me anything about yourself, then? I didn't say I would, and there really isn't much to tell. How about this? How did you secure Chemian citizenship? That's not something that's just given out to children or presumed to belong to wolves. The question takes me by surprise, though this whole Chemian thing does seem to be what's bothering him most, especially after his greeting. I think, but the truth doesn't seem harmful here. Honestly, it was just to protect me from Cassius. He doesn't really like me, if you haven't noticed. The expression on Alex's face tells me he definitely doesn't believe me. Cassius wouldn't harm me unless you did something that deserved it. He said he wanted to execute me because I backtalked him and Amicus slapped his nose. Alex's ears flatten. When Cassius says things, he's very passionate. Well, that's one way to put it. I shift on my feet, starting to get tired of this conversation. Listen, I have nothing against you, Alex. I'm just trying to get through this as much as you are. The Pharaoh gave you the citizenship, right? Yeah. And you're working with him to make the alliance a reality, correct? That stops me. What? No, I'm focused on Amicus right now. Alex glares. Which is still part of the alliance. Well, I guess so, but honestly that's not really my top priority right now. It is part of your top priority. I'm getting frustrated and I start to sidle off toward the palace. Yeah, we established that. Listen, I'm going to lay down. I'm tired. Alex goes on staring and doesn't say anything. Again, I have nothing against you. I hope that we can just go back to normal in the future when this is over, you know? Indeed. With that, Alex turns and walks away up the path, leaving me to stare after him. I decide to ask Nefario about what happened with Alex. I know they had some kind of relationship going on, so maybe he can enlighten me on the cat's motives. My mouth already open as I'm walking into the bedroom when I'm hit with a blast of sound. In front of me is Nefario with his back to me, though I can see that he's in his underwear. He's moving fluidly around, arms and paws waving about, and pausing at odd angles while his feet slide across the ground, gliding back and forth. At first I think he's doing some kind of exercise, but I can hear him singing over the music. It's wordless because it doesn't translate through the lingua, just a sort of howling sound, though very different from the wolves. It's very loud and it's a wonder I can hear it in the hallway. It doesn't necessarily sound bad, but I can tell the Pharaoh wasn't putting much effort into making it sound nice. Still, I feel like I'm walking in on something private, so I consider backing out. Of course, that's when he spins around and immediately spots me standing there in front of the door, my mouth still open. Quickly, I fix my face into a pleasant smile, trying to act casual so I don't embarrass him. Oh, hey, Nefario, I pause as I see Nefario grinning back at me. I was just, You okay? I have to almost shout over the music. The jackal is swaying back and forth a little bit, almost like he's still dancing. Oh, Tibor, what an incredibly pleasant and joyous surprise. Thanks? The jackal begins to dance again, facing me this time, though he doesn't sing, thankfully. You okay? Better than I've ever been, my simian friend. What do you think of the music? Nefario nods at the ceiling. It's nice, kind of loud. I'm sorry, I need to hear sounds from home every now and then. The wolves have no spice in their music. The jackal slides his paws sensually over his torso, smoothing the fur down to better accentuate his pecs and abs, his eyes glued to mine. I look around and note the 3 bottles of wine on the bedside table. Oh, you're drunk. I'm drunk. The pharaoh spins in a circle and actually almost loses his balance, something I've never seen him do. I've seen him buzz before, but he's always managed to keep his composure. But now... How drunk? Too drunk, but... The pharaoh steadies himself against a pillar, leaning and rubbing his head against it. At the same time, not drunk enough. I quickly make sure the door is closed behind me before moving closer to the jackal. Do you need help? What? I raise my voice above the music. Do you... The pharaoh waves his paw at me. Wait, pause music. Pausing, dancing amongst the dunes by Hecate. I need another drink. The pharaoh reaches out toward the table, even though it's a good 10 feet away, and I look over to see one of them is half full. There's a pause, and the pharaoh opens his eyes, frowning at me. I said I need a drink, Tibor. What do you think I'm going to do about that? You're a slave, you know what to do. I stare. Excuse me? You are a slave. The pharaoh pokes a finger in my direction with every word. Don't let the wolves tell you any different. As long as you are here, they are your master. But you were treating me like a slave just now. I was making... The pharaoh pauses as he makes a strange swallowing, hiccuping sound. I was making a point, clearly. Sorry, should I simplify my words for you? The jackal goes on staring at the bottle, as if wondering if it's worth it to make the journey there. He turns back to me as if just remembering that I'm there, though he seems to have trouble focusing his eyes. Don't worry, Tibor, I am just as much a slave as you are. You have the advantage of someday leaving, though. I move closer, deciding to sit on my bed while the pharaoh goes on hugging at the pillar, as if letting go will cause him to fall. That wouldn't be good considering the fountain is right there. You can't leave whenever you want. The pharaoh chuckles, then guffaws, another sound I never heard from him. You don't understand. I can leave, but I can't leave. Yeah, I don't think I do understand. Suddenly the pharaoh's ears flatten. You really fucked this up for me. Do you understand that? I blink. What? You fucked my life. This time the pharaoh uses his foot to point at me, or really just sort of kicking it in my direction. What the hell are you talking about? If you hadn't come here, Cato would not have had the excuse to nullify Amycus' emperorship. I'd be halfway through negotiating an alliance by now. Wait, this isn't my fault. I was brought here against my will, Pharaoh. The pharaoh makes another deep swallowing sound, then just belches loudly. Yes, I'm sorry. I forget it's mostly that big idiot's fault. I feel my temper snap and I stand up. Now is not the time I wanted to find out that my most important ally actually brings me and my boyfriend to the situation he's in. Hey, I know you're drunk, but I'm not going to listen to you say this shit. You can call me back when you've sobered up and stop feeling sorry for yourself. I start walking toward the door quickly, feeling a little sick of this whole situation. If the pharaoh really is turning on me, that means the only person I can trust here is in the dungeon. I really would be alone. Wait! His voice is so quiet I'm almost not even sure I heard it. I pause though, looking back on my shoulder. He's still leaned up against the pillar, his ears down, gazing at the ground. I'm about to ask him to repeat himself, but that's when he suddenly lets out a gasp and slides down the pillar to his knees. He crumples on the ground, paws covering his face as he trembles and starts to sob loudly. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I'm doing. I stare open-mouthed, watching the jackal cry for several seconds. Apparently, too drunk means way too drunk. Still, this jackal clears a lot of problems he doesn't tell anyone about. Actually, he doesn't really have anyone to tell them to on this alien moon. At least I have Amycus. So after standing there in stunned silence for a moment, I walk over to the pharaoh. I stand awkwardly at his side for a moment, watching his broad black-furred shoulders heave up and down for I kneel and rest a hand on his back. I see his ears perk up for a moment in reaction, but otherwise he doesn't say anything. I'm generally not the best at comforting someone, especially when they're crying, where I rub my hand in a circle through the fur. Hey, I get it. This whole thing is really frustrating. We'll figure this out together. I give the jackal a few minutes to finally calm down. Then I start to pull him up, pushing him in the direction of his bed. He doesn't resist and stumbles outward before falling face down onto the covers. He wipes his face with the pillow, and while he does that, I quickly grab the wine bottles, moving them to the floor so they're out of his reach. Finally, the pharaoh lets out a big shuddery sigh. "Can you rub my back again? It feels good." The jackal's voice is stuffy from his clogged nose. "Sure." I kneel beside the bed before starting to rub the pharaoh's back again. He sighs, head turned away from me. I let the silence go on for a while, listening to the jackal sniffing every couple of seconds before I finally speak. "So, what happened?" "I drank." "Yes, speaking of which, Com, bring us a glass and a pitcher of water, please." "Yes, Tibor." "And take the wine bottles away too." "Yes, Tibor." "No, my precious wolf and wine." The pharaoh says in a mock, sad voice, but combined with his already sad state, there's not much of a difference. Again, what happened? "I don't know. Suppose I've realised how challenging this will all be. I can't say I trust the wolf and people to oust Cassius. They're rather accepting of corrupt officials." I think, trying to approach this delicately. "Is your family making you do this? Like they won't let you come back unless you cultivate the alliance?" "My family doesn't even expect me to accomplish that. That's why I must do it. If I don't, I might as well be banished." "It seems kind of unfair they put all of this on you." "After what I put them through, it's only fair." I wish more of an explanation, but he doesn't go on. "So is what Alex said on the island about you and your family true?" "More or less." Again, he doesn't seem interested in talking about it, so I just go on rubbing his back. "Well, we're going to get Amicus out of the dungeons and onto the throne. I know you don't believe I talked to the parents, but I really think I have, and they're on our side." The pharaoh chuckles. "So you'll get that alliance." "I hope so, my friend." We sit in silence for a long while, and even I start to enjoy the hypnotic motion of rubbing the pharaoh's furry back in a large spiral motion. My mind wanders back to the cat. Speaking of Alex, I had a weird conversation with him today. I think he thinks we're like conspiring against him or something. The pharaoh grunts. "Oh, stay away from that cat. He's nothing but trouble." Well, he kept bringing up the alliance. He seemed to want to know my role in it. The pharaoh turns his face toward me, his eyes bloodshot. The tears dried up at this point. "I assume it had something to do with not wanting the alliance to happen?" "Yeah." The pharaoh takes a deep breath and presses his face into the pillow, letting out a long groan. "All I can say is don't trust him." "Yeah, definitely not. I just don't really get what he's doing." "Neither do I, and that's why you should stay away from him." "Really? I thought you two, I don't know, talked and did stuff together." "Which didn't shed any light on his motives. Considering the way our relationship has changed, I doubt I'll get any more information from him." "Sure you can't just seduce him again?" The pharaoh cracks a smile. "Last time I tried that, he referred to me as a whore, which isn't entirely inaccurate." The doors open and the drone glides in, setting water down the bedside table and fetching the bottles from behind the jackal's bed. The pharaoh watches it go morosely. I clear my throat, trying to distract him from the departing alcohol. "I get what you mean, though. It seems like he favours one side, then the other. I don't get it." The pharaoh waves his paw. "Best not to worry yourself with him and simply stay away. Amorphans are famous for their quirks and seemingly contradictory behaviour." "All right." I rub for a while longer, switching hands as my arm starts getting tired. I'm starting to think the jackal has fallen asleep when he suddenly speaks again, jolting me out of my trance. "We'll be reading our hand to Cassius tomorrow. With any luck, Amicus will be free by the end of the week." "Oh." I'm surprised, finding that hard to take in. I knew this would be coming, but not so soon. How are we going to do that? "Well, we have 3 pieces of information that can help us. The first is the footage from the 3rd trial. Hopefully that'll be enough to convince Cassius to step down." The pharaoh suddenly shifts and slowly sits up, groaning again before reaching for the pitcher and glass of water. "The second is the footage of Cato attacking me. I'd rather we not have to use that, but if Cassius isn't convinced by the first, then we may have to resort to it." The pharaoh drinks deeply from his glass, and I watch him impatiently as he drains the entire thing. "And the third?" The pharaoh gasps and leans back, setting the glass down. "Remember your little theory about the previous emperor's accident?" I nod. "Alex said the investigation was botched." The pharaoh glances at me. "The fact that the cat tipped you off is worrying, but it is very odd. The investigation wasn't botched, but rather called off by the acting emperor. Cato? Indeed, the investigators were only able to get as far as discovering a possible malicious software installed on the ship's navigation system. Considering software has been installed through a port and the ship is heavily protected whenever outside the palace, the installation likely would have happened while inside the palace. So Cato? The Pharaoh chuckles. More than likely, yes. But I don't understand why. Cato was good friends with the last emperor, and as far as I can tell, he was supportive of his policies. Well, how people act on the outside doesn't really seem to matter much around here. Or anywhere. What convinced me of Cato's involvement, however, is the fact that every single investigator has gone missing since. What? I start to feel that icy fear in my chest again. If it is Cato, then he really is ruthless. What I saw happen to that doctor, Felix, could only be a taste of what Cato is capable of. Unfortunately, because there's no solid evidence linking Cato, I'm afraid it might not be very effective. It could be another last resort, though. Anyway, would you like to go with Virginia to try and convince him with this information? Really? You've been trying to get me to stay out of the way for the past week. To keep you safe, I've noticed that Cassius may have taken a liking to you as of late. You know him to some degree and could use that knowledge to better convince him. Well, I wouldn't say he likes me, but yeah, I can try. As I said, Virginia will be there to help as well. I assume you're not going? The Pharaoh smirks. I'm the last person he'd want to see or discussing the possible end of his rule. Besides, I know I'm not going to be feeling my best tomorrow. I think I'll stay in bed for once. Drink more water. The Pharaoh sighs, just sort of looking at the picture. I roll my eyes, reaching out to pour him another glass. Oh, how kind of you. I'm a slave, right? The Pharaoh winces as he takes the glass from me. No, you're a Chemian. I think we'll be very proud to have you. With that, he once again downs the entire thing. I toss and turn most of the night, even while the Pharaoh snores loudly in his own bed. I go over what I might be able to say to Cassius and things go wrong for whatever reason. I find that difficult to do, though, especially considering how angry and unpredictable the wolf can be sometimes. I might just get maybe a couple of hours of sleep. As soon as the sun starts shining through the opening in the roof, I'm up and ready for Virginia to come get me. That doesn't happen till about an hour later, and the Pharaoh only lifts his head for a moment when the wolf enters before groaning and dropping it back to the pillow. I'm hoping he doesn't remember what happened yesterday for his sake. The amount of anticipation in the air is almost too much for me to handle as I follow Virginia to the throne room. It's a feeling I haven't felt since the trials, since when I thought I was about to be able to fly back home. Now though, it's the anticipation I'll be able to get Amicus out of the dungeons. We pause at the door, Virginia glancing at me. Remember, speak only if absolutely necessary. This is of the utmost importance. I nod silently. I get the feeling Shen wanted me to come, but the Pharaoh probably insisted. The wolf reaches out and presses the panel, opening the door. I follow her in and immediately spot Cassius on his throne, still on his little booster seat. There's someone else too. We'd chosen today as Cato still hadn't returned from his trip, thus leaving Cassius alone. Now, though, Alex is here, kneeling beside the throne, his head on the armrest while Cassius strokes his head, so the paw occupied with a tablet-like device. He glances up. Ah, Sister Antibo, what is it you needed? Virginia is silent and we stop at the base of the steps. I come to a stop just behind her, to her left. Cassius narrows his eyes as he looks down at us, probably realising this is no ordinary visit. Meanwhile, Alex just stares as inquisitively, looking innocent and oblivious as he always tries to. Brother, I have something very, very important to discuss with you. Cassius regards her for a moment and glances at me. Why is he here? It involves him. It involves all of us, actually. Cassius frowns deeply, expression going more and more sour. And what is it, Virginia? Virginia takes a deep breath. Cassius, you must abdicate. It takes Cassius a moment to take that in. When he does, his eyes widen and his nostrils flare, leaning back in his throne like he's been slapped. Excuse me? I wonder if this is the best way to go about telling Cassius they're about to try and take the throne from him. I look around, wonder if there are any drones that he might use to blast us with. Cassius, we all know this is illegitimate. You must consider. Enough. I will hear no talk of this from my own sister, no less. Leave at once. The young wolf is shaken in his seat, wide eyes, ears flat. Well, you must hear it.
I must not. I followed every protocol. I am in my rightful place. Leave now, or I have the drones escort you.
Alex is sitting up straight now, staring at us, his ears perked, and I kind of wish we could have had him leave the room. Virginia remains calm, simply gazing back up at Cassius with an almost stoic look.
Brother, you must hear it because we have proof of your deception.
Cassius seems to have recovered from his initial shock, though he's still trembling a bit, chest heaving for breath.
What proof?
Virginia takes a deep breath.
You know that we already know about the staging, but we have footage of the third trial, all of it.
Cassius stays quiet, unsure of what to say.
We have contacts in Adastra that will release it to the public tomorrow evening.
Cassius swallows hard.
I will close the news channels. Not only to the news channels, but in portable formats as well, that may be copied and spread. You will not be able to stop all of that.
Cassius opens his mouth, then closes it, then opens it again, then closes it. He didn't see this coming at all. Finally his shoulders drop and he stares at the floor.
Virginia, how could you do this to me?
Virginia frowns, actually looking a bit sad.
How could you take the throne in such a dishonest manner? Mother taught you better. Do not speak of Mother.
Cassius' response is instant and angry before he deflates again. The silence stretches out for a while before Virginia speaks again.
I know you, Cass. I know you're an honest, honourable wolf. I know you don't want the emperorship like this.
Cassius goes on, staring off into space. You even want to be emperor, Cassius? Virginia looks sharply over at me, but I ignore her for now, looking right up at Cassius. He turns his gaze slowly to me.
What kind of question is that?
Remember when we saw the parents together? Cassius instantly bristles, his ears turning a deep red. You remember what they said, right?
I don't remember.
Sure, anyway, you know what the parents think, what they want. Just listen to them. They only want what's best for this empire. Cassius closes his eyes, taking a deep breath.
Why are you doing this to me?
He says it quietly, and I'm not sure if he's talking to me, Virginia, or the both of us.
Because we also want what's best for the empire, Cassius. That involves a legitimate emperor that rightfully sits upon the throne. I can't just abdicate. How many emperors have even done that? The humiliation would be too great.
The first time I actually hear some resignation in Cassius's voice. I actually do believe he doesn't want this emperorship anymore. I jump in again. We can make up any story you want, Cassius. It doesn't have to be a shameful thing. We can make it seem honourable, even though I think it already is if you do step down. Again, Cassius is silent. I can only imagine all the things that are going through his head right now. He knows that the release of the footage will destroy his image, cause unrest, probably the point he'd never be able to recover if he remained on the throne. He already knows he's been beaten. Alex, meanwhile, continues to sit at his side, just staring at the two of us. I'm surprised he hasn't said anything at all, and again I'm not sure whose side he's on.
Also, you need to demote Cato from advisor, otherwise he'll become acting emperor again.
Cassius looks sharply at us.
We know he's behind all of this. You're a puppet, Cassius.
Cassius bristles and Virginia shoots me another warning look.
But you're still the emperor. You have complete power over your advisor. You can easily cut those strings.
Cassius looks about ready to say something, to protest, but again he slumps down, just glaring at his knees.
That would automatically make Amicus emperor.
It's not a question, just a defeated statement. We don't say anything.
I suppose he's always destined to be that. I was a fool to think I could make this work.
Virginia's ears perk up and I feel a swooping feeling in my chest, like I just missed a step. Alex just looks up at Cassius, frowning. Cassius shakes his head.
I'll need to think. You said tomorrow evening? The 14th hour.
Cassius sighs, then nods.
I see. I will make an announcement tomorrow after breakfast. I need to meditate.
Certainly. Cassius drops his paw to his lap and picks up the glass tablet again, and just like that we're dismissed. As Virginia turns to go, I quickly speak up. Cassius, can I see Amicus again? He rolls his eyes.
Gods, yes, in fact.
He looks up at the ceiling.
Com has set T-Bow's access to the dungeons unrestricted. He'll be free by tomorrow anyway, I'm sure.
Thank you. I bow because it feels like the right thing to do, but Cassius only grunts in response. I then quickly follow Virginia out into the hallway, almost skipping with relief and excitement. Holy shit, that was easy. I whisper the she-wolf as she maintains that stoic look.
It really was, wasn't it? It seems that Cassius isn't enjoying his position on the throne after all.
Did you think it would be easy?
I think he never looked past beating Amicus. Now that he has, well...
I shake my head. That was his only reason, and he deserves this.
Well, I don't believe it's his only reason. He simply didn't prepare himself beyond the trials.
Virginia side-eyes me.
And don't get too excited just yet. The thing is final until Cassius says the words.
Yeah, but it looks like he's definitely going to.
It does, yes, but remain careful and vigilant also.
Virginia pauses where we reach a branch in the hallway where we part ways so I can go to the dungeons. I stop and look up at her, stepping from one foot to the other, eager to tell Amicus the news.
You've noticed my loyalty to Amicus over the past week, yes?
Yeah?
At the very least, this would be deserving of some kind of official position, don't you think?
You want to be chief advisor, right?
Yes, and you're very close to him.
I'll get him to make it happen. The wolf almost looks shocked. I don't know why, though. I assume this was always part of the plan.
Thank you, Tibor.
Of course, I'll see you later today. I leave the wolf standing there, trying to walk too fast on my way to the dungeons. Amicus is shocked when I tell him the news, obviously, but like Virginia, he tells me to stay cautious. Anything can happen between now and when Cassius makes the announcement. And we're definitely not guaranteed an abdication during said announcement. Either way, I promise Amicus to come back down first thing in the morning to tell him the news. I leave in good spirits. I catch Amicus's tail wagging more than it usually does. Might actually be the end of this nightmare.
Tibor. Tibor.
Huh? I stare at the ceiling, wondering for a moment where I am.
Tibor, your presence is required at breakfast.
What? I try to focus, the memories of last night slowly coming back to me. I'd returned to Virginia and Neferu having a drink to celebrate our tentative victory. I joined them and maybe I had too much. It's a bit blurry, but the splitting headache is evidence enough. Then I remember that Con woke me up. Wait, breakfast?
Yes, your presence is requested immediately.
I hadn't had breakfast with the family since Amicus was imprisoned. Why would they request me now? That gets me nervous knowing what's about to happen today. I go over to once again see Neferu sleeping in his bed, his fur uncharacteristically mussed up, just like yesterday morning. Quickly I jump out of bed, throwing on my robes, and trying to straighten out my hair as I hurry out and towards the dining room. I wonder if maybe Amicus is already out of the dungeons. Maybe he's the one requesting my presence. As I reach the door, I realise that's not the case. Virginia, Cassius and Cato sit on the beds while Alex kneels in front of Cassius. As I walk in, I can immediately tell that something's off. The air is tense. I come to a gradual stop, unsure what to do as the rest of them glance up at me.
Is that Tibor? How very nice of you to join us. Would you care to serve us our food and drink, please?
Something is very wrong here. Did Cassius tell Cato what happened? There's not much else I can do except walk over to kneel beside Alex, reaching out to begin serving the wolves. It's completely silent as all of them just watch me fumbling around with the food. Finally, Virginia breaks the silence.
Cato, is there a reason you called us all to breakfast?
Cato turns his head in Virginia's direction.
Can't I enjoy a meal with the royal siblings? I simply wanted to discuss my trip with you. Oh, I see. It's just been so long since we've had a scheduled breakfast. It may be a good habit to get back into. Wouldn't you agree, Emperor Cassius? Oh, yes, definitely, Cato. How was your trip? Oh, wonderful. I had the pleasure of visiting Adrote. Being the entertainment capital of Adastra, I had such a good time observing the plays, despite my inability to observe.
Cato starts laughing loudly, and I can tell where everyone's on edge. This isn't like Cato at all. I set a plate out for Cato while Alex does the same thing for Cassius. While he's working on Virginia's plate, Cato shifts.
Tibor, could you hand us all our goblets? I'm absolutely parched.
I had noticed that the goblets had already been sat out in front of each wolf, already filled with wine. Carefully I hand Cato his goblet, then turn and reach for Cassius's.
Fear not. These are the events that shall follow.
I blink and notice Cassius staring at me, raising an eyebrow. I shake my head and push the goblet into his paw. I'm about to grab Virginia's, but Alex has already finished her plate and hands her a goblet as well. For a while the wolves eat and drink in silence. At least, Virginia and Cassius do. I notice Cato not touching his food at all, simply watching the rest of us. Cassius lets out a loud cough. Alex sets a paw on his leg in concern.
Sorry, something in my throat.
He takes another drink of his wine.
Keep your mind and heart open, great ape. You shall receive guidance.
My vision flashes, and the tension somehow builds, and I know now that something terrible is about to happen.
So, Cassius, I hear you have an announcement to make this morning.
The entire room freezes as the wolves stop eating and Alex stops serving. I sit there on my knees, trying to keep my breathing even, trying to deal with feeling like I have voices in my head, with Cato apparently discovering our plan at the same time. Cassius finally speaks, or tries to. He coughs again, harder this time. I notice him starting to shake, and Alex again puts a paw on his leg.
Cassius, what's wrong? Yes, what's wrong, Cassius? Don't you have a speech to give this morning? You might have to postpone it if you have a cough.
Cassius suddenly sits up, trembling. He stares at Cato, wide-eyed, disbelieving, one paw moving to his throat.
Cassius!
He turns to Alex, reaching a paw out to him, which the cat catches.
I can't breathe.
Cassius wheezes, looking down to his goblet. Then he suddenly spasms, curling over his stomach for another violent spasm, takes him, and he arches out on the bed, screaming. It's a hideous sound, full of agony. It's so sudden I'm just left to stare in shock, still on my knees. Virginia stands up, moving around her bed to get closer to Cassius. Meanwhile, Alex screams as well, staring in horror at Cassius.
Cass, what is it? What happened?
Cassius just writhes under him, even as Alex tries to hold him down. I notice his mouth foaming, red from the wine the goblet still held in his paw, for he drops it, spilling it to the bed and floor.
Cass!
Alex's voice is filled with despair, probably realised at the same time I do that Cassius has been poisoned, that he might be dying.
Oh dear, are you cramping, Cassius? Perhaps you ate too fast.
The hair rises on the back of my neck. I sense Cato sitting behind me. He'd found out about our plan. He put a stop to it just like that.
Cato, this was too far. Was it the wine?
I almost don't register what Alex just said, but that's when I feel Cato get up behind me. In a few steps, he's standing over Alex and Cassius before he swings a paw hard into Alex's face. He sends a small cat flying so far he's thrown up against the wall. He crumples there, unmoving. Virginia ducks when this happens, but bravely moves forward, grabbing Cassius and turning him over onto his stomach. For a moment, I think Cato's going to do the same to her, but he seems to get himself under control.
Was it the wine then? Well, who served it?
He looks around inquisitively, even while Virginia sticks her fingers into Cassius's mouth, shoving them deep until the screaming wolf lets out a retch. Cato's eyes settle on me.
What did you put in his drink, Simeon?
I stayed on my knees, dumbfounded. Then there's a splattering sound as Cassius vomits up his breakfast, tinged red from the wine. Virginia stubbornly continues to gag him, forcing out every little bit that she can.
Well, I suppose we'll have to investigate, won't we? Come, send a medical ship from Adastra City. Tell them the Emperor's been poisoned.
Yes, Virginia. Cato looks down at me, and before I can move, he reaches out and grabs my arm. I felt the power of a wolf before, main one being Amicus, of course, but this is different. It's like he's made of stone. Cato starts pulling me toward the door, and every step feels like my arm is about to be yanked out of its socket. As Cato marches out in the hallway, I grasp at his arm with my other hand, trying to relieve the pressure somehow. The wolf stares straight ahead, ignoring me even as I try to pull away. I can walk. I grip my teeth, my hand already numb. I look left and right, trying to figure out how I might get away. There's no chance for that, as I realise we've reached Amicus's room. Suddenly I find myself on the floor as the wolf throws me violently into the room.
I suggest you stay there. You have no means of escape anyway. I'll be back to discuss things with you.
There's some strange humour in his voice on that last part. Before I can even look back, the door shuts and I hear another sound. A click. I sit in Amicus's room in stunned silence for a long, long time. I still haven't been able to comprehend the series of events that had just unfolded. All I can piece together is that Alex, for whatever reason, had tipped Cato off as to what we were planning. I suppose the cat hadn't expected Cato to use such drastic measures, judging by his reaction, but he'd wanted to put a stop to our plans just the same. I don't bother myself with trying to figure out Alex's motives anymore, though. Instead, I'm left to sit here and wonder if there's anything I can possibly do to get out of this. I soon found out that the clicking sound was the door locking. Suppose that means Cato is the actor and emperor again, with Cassius either incapacitated or even dead. I ask Com about Cassius's health, but he only tells me that information is not available to him. So I wait, sitting on the couch for hours, wondering the next time the door slides open it will be my death. I need Amicus. These thoughts become too much for me, and I have to get up to walk around, trying hard not to hyperventilate. Maybe Nefera will be able to do something. He must have heard about what happened by now, unless Cato did something to him as well. With a deep breath, I push past the curtain and out onto the balcony. It's already late afternoon, but that's not what catches my attention. Instead, it's the smoke rising over the city, the sun shining behind it all to give it a strange red glow. I stare, wondering what possibly could have happened in the short time between this morning and now. Com? Yes, T-Ball? Why is there smoke over Adastra city? There's a pause. Here's what I found. At approximately the 11th hour, Cato proclaimed himself Emperor of Adastra shortly after Empress Cassius was poisoned by a child pet. Cato then dissolved the triumvirate and assumed absolute control of the empire. There are destructive riots in all the major cities. Is Cassius alive? That information is not available to me, T-Ball. I sigh and stare down at the water, feeling sick. I wonder how much of this is my fault. At least a little bit, if not all of it, for just being here in the first place. Now that Cato's framing me, I'm going to die. My vision blurs with tears before one drops down into the sloshing lake below me. And then I remember. I deleted my profile from Com's database. I try to remember what I was told about how exactly it works, something to do with the AI security system. While he might be able to deduce what room I'm in based on my voice, he should be blind to my exact location. That would mean leaving the boundaries of the palace shouldn't alert anything. Maybe if I experimentally stick an arm over the railing, then a leg, for I know on the other side of the balcony the lake sloshing below me. I think about what I can do. I could swim for the shore, make a run for Adastra city and maybe find someone to help me. Maybe one of those contacts that Nefera and Virginia keep talking about. I could also just hide somewhere, even on the island until things settle down a bit. Run to a city in chaos probably wouldn't be the best move. But I already know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to leave the palace. I'm going to find a way back in. I need to get to Amicus. I need to tell him what's happened and figure out a way to fall back on a last resort. My stomach twists at the idea, but I know there are out of choices now. With that, I look down at the water and let go. Are these the shadows of things that will be, or things that may be only? As Charles Dickens said. Well, especially Scrooge. So what is going on at the end there? Is the monitor showing us the breakfast of things yet to come? Or is that happening? I know, my personal idea, and Howley, I could be completely wrong, I guess, in this. You know, you're the only person who does know. I think that was a kind of Christmas yet to come moment there. I think we're getting an idea of what could happen. I think we're being warned to do something else, which could be an important choice in the next update. Who knows? But yeah, it's definitely getting interesting. And yeah, never trust Cato. He will do anything. Mind you, if you've read some of the Roman history, he'd blend in well with that. Anyway, that was this update for Adastra. It's later this month, December, we get in the Patreon version. So I'm looking forward to playing that, seeing what's going on. Find out, am I right with this? Am I not? And of course, once the next public update comes out, probably in January, then we will go back to the videos with that. And if you like these ones, don't forget to check out the Ave Adastrians on Dirk the Red Panda's channel. Dirk provides the narration. I just do Amicus and Com. Started as Arcassius. Cetus is Alexios. We have Garrett playing Marco, as we name him in that one. My Tibor. And a few others as well. I'm not going to name because I might mess up the characters. We do shift around occasionally when people can't make these recordings. But you definitely have to hear Korg's Nefero. He does it way better than I do. Thanks for listening to this one, and until next time, bye for now.